Hello, wonderful leader. This is Taaka. Welcome to the Leadership in Africa Redefined, the podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Busara Africa, a Pan-African leadership development firm. In every episode of this podcast, we uncover powerful insights, share real-world experiences, and deliver practical strategies to help you excel as a leader. Subscribe to the show to become the leader you have always wanted to be. Enjoy! Welcome to another episode of Leadership in Africa Redefined, the podcast. This is one of the nuts and bolts episodes, so I have the power team with me. I have Robert.
Yay!
I have Gillian. Dr. Gillian, welcome. How are you both?
Very well, thank you.
Well, So folks, today we are talking about something really related to what we've been hearing you say. We've entitled this episode, Leadership Landmines, 5 triggers that test every leader's patience. And really, we've done this nuts and bolts because as we've been listening to you, as we've been engaging with you, we're starting to realize that there are about 5 common things that are really testing your last nerve. These are common things that are getting you so irritated, stressed out, are contributing to your burnt out, and ultimately ensuring that you are not bringing out the best in you as leaders. So what we hope to do today is name them, but more importantly, provide you with some concrete strategies for how to deal with them, because these are realities we're finding that are very common in this workplace, but they need to be dealt with rather than just getting frustrated at them. So let me start with you, Robert. What are you hearing? You're doing lots of coaching now, yeah? So to share with us one of the things you are hearing leaders are just getting triggered by.
I think one of the key things have been fear of admitting mistakes by people that they are leading. You know, in our context, most of the times people have gone through some cultural and communal things. Like, for instance, I just remembered when we were in school, in some schools that I attended, we used to do certain things that you will be caned if you make a mistake. You will not be encouraged or coached or supported. You will be caned. And so it puts some fear in us as we grow up to admitting our mistakes and also reporting it when we make it. So you will see someone at the workplace who may make a mistake with a document and they will hide it so long, and it was a time that they asked, where is the document? Then they will not be shaking to bring it, and they will say, but why didn't you bring this earlier? But it's because of the fear that they'll be reprimanded, they'll be beating, they'll have shame, you know. So all these things contribute to a lot of people, followers, or what we call colleagues, sometimes hiding the mistakes that they make. And it's always good in the workplace to normalize or to help people feel comfortable with making mistakes and admitting them.
So that's how you deal with it. So the frustration is, and I've heard the same thing. People get it. It's like, why don't people just own up? Why don't they just say, I'm sorry, I made this mistake. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you told me to make that phone call yesterday. I didn't make the phone call. I forgot. I know I was supposed. Instead, people start giving you long stories. And I can just see leaders starting to burn. Just tell me straight, did you do it or not? So what you are beginning to tell us, so what can you do about it to ensure that people are a lot more comfortable owning up to their mistakes?
First, we should create a safe space where people can make mistakes and admit them. So creating a safe space means that when somebody makes a mistake, how you react, your first reaction as a leader tells the person what your focus is. If your focus is to understand what happened and provide support, then people feel that they are okay to always tell you when there's a mistake. And it will even encourage them to prevent the mistakes because they know that they can come to you. Even before they commit that error, they would have come to you already because they create that space for them to feel safe. And then also leading with vulnerability. We also make mistakes as leaders. And when we admit them and we make amends and show people how do you go about when you make a mistake, how do you go about it and address it. It shows us an example for people to learn from and admit and also be aware of it. And also finally shifting from the blame culture.
Yeah.
You know, don't blaming people. So if something goes wrong, maybe one person got something wrong within a team, how do we address it?
Yes.
Do we say, of course, we want people to own up, but the way we address it, say, it was a mistake, how do we all help to make this work?
Yes.
Not point and say, you did it and you have to fix it and all of that.
Yes.
That becomes difficult. But encouraging people to say, I made a mistake, that is good,
Yes.
but how do we move forward? I think that would help a lot.
So I'm hearing from you, what's so key is how we mistakes are going to happen.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing from you saying, how we respond to the mistakes
Yeah.
influences whether people are going to be more honest about owning up and how quickly they own up to those mistakes. Okay, really nice. Gillian.
So, yes, before we move on from this point, another dimension that I'd like to add is there's also, I've seen situations where people make a mistake, one person makes a mistake, and the company penalizes everybody for that mistake.
Yeah.
So, and to give you an example, let's say that one of the employees decides, like they break a rule. Maybe they were working from home, and instead of actually working from home, they were found to have been doing their own thing. Let's just say as an example, although this is an actual example. But then instead of the company dealing with that one employee, they now put in a rule that basically affects all the employees and everybody
there's
gets
no more working
punished.
from home.
Yes. So when you get settings like that as well, then you will have people shutting down. Like they will see things going wrong and they will not admit it. They will not, so they will see somebody making a mistake. They won't highlight it to the leadership and they won't say anything to the person. Everybody will just stay quiet because they also are trying to protect themselves, knowing how the company responds. So what you said, Robert, about, you know, looking at how the leaders respond when people make mistakes is absolutely critical. Because that response alone will determine whether anybody ever comes forward again or everybody will just quietly sit and just see you crashing
And just sit on their hands, as you said,
So it's, for me, this topic is really, really good because the same things that trigger us, in many cases, we actually have control over it through how we respond. But totally agree.
So folks, if that's one of your things, if you're finding that people are hiding their mistakes, not owning up to things, now you know what to do to start to shift that, Gillian, I know you got some. What have you heard, or maybe have you, in your experience, what are some of your pet peeves?
I think one of my big pet peeves, and it may be because of different places and countries that I've worked, but I find that a lot of employees don't speak up. They don't want to challenge anything, for good or for bad. So you will get into a meeting and people can clearly see something is wrong or that there's a better way. They won't say anything. I remember I was in a meeting once where we were supposed to choose, we wanted to choose a new design for the company cloth. And the CEO said that, so we started the meeting, there were a few different designs to choose from. The CEO said, I like this one. And when he said that, everybody else stayed quiet. And so he was asking and everybody was saying, I agree, I agree, I agree. We got to one person and her comment was so insightful. She said, since the CEO says that, I agree. And you're talking about somebody sitting among the leadership. This is not even a regular employee.
Wow.
But it's a
part of the leadership team.
It's a mentality that because somebody in the highest authority has spoken, then I don't have the right, or it won't look good if I challenge them. And so for me, that whole mindset, it pervades down the entire organization. And you find that people are just, they'll see things and they'll sometimes, you have some of these young guys, they're brilliant.
Yes.
And they're so smart. They're coming with fresh ideas. Because us as executives, sometimes you've been in the company so long, you're tired.
Yes,
You're-
yes,
like
no
you're-
fresh ideas.
No, there
Yes.
isn't. And we don't want to have that honest look in the mirror to say, hey, we need some fresh ideas. So you have the young people coming, they have the ideas, but they're afraid to speak up.
Yes.
They are afraid to speak up. And again, Robert, you said, we are not creating the safe space
Yes.
for them to speak up. We are not showing them that, oh, we celebrate you when you speak up.
Yes.
So it's a pet peeve, but I see where it's coming from.
Yes.
And I feel like collectively we need to do something about it, because nobody knows everything.
Yes.
Like knowledge doesn't sit in just one person. So I would wish that the younger people, I think they're a bit bolder. I would wish that they would apply the same boldness they apply to speaking about mental health and all the other things that they
Yes.
want. I wish they would also take that boldness into the company with ideas and everything. But we also need to embrace it when they
Yes,
bring it.
yes.
And so it's a definite pet peeve that people don't speak up, but let's also try and create the space
See what we're
for
doing
them to
about
speak
it.
up.
You're so spot on. I think particularly at Busara, being brought in to do organizational development processes, people will call us in to say, okay, there's something up with our organization that's not working well, and there'll be inevitably, why don't you speak to staff? Why don't? And people will not speak. Huh? But I think, or the leader will say to us, we're calling you in because we don't know what's going on. We sense something is not right, but people won't talk. I think what we have learned, and I think particularly me, because I'm always facilitating, I think one of the things I've learned is that it's almost back to the first point you were making, Robert, in terms of fear of admitting mistakes. The way many of us have been socialized and raised, you don't speak up when certain companies are around. You just have to look, we've said this before, you just have to look at the terminology in different countries for those who speak up. We've talked about it here. What do we call it in Ghana? You're too known.
Yeah.
You saw that's what's almost like there's a concept of being
sit down.
But in Uganda we have the same thing. It's called lugezi-gezi. You're too clever. So do you see? So you're already socialized to know that if you speak up with what Gillian is saying, with this brilliant idea, somebody will look at you and say, "Who are you? You are just too known. It's not your place." So when you have that, I think as leaders, if we start to appreciate that people are socialized that way, we now go the extra mile. We don't just sit and expect them to speak up. We go the extra mile to do what you said, Gillian, to create safety. So for instance, Robert, you know how we do our trainings. We always know that plenary space is an inherently unsafe space. So if you're in a workshop and you're in plenary, please don't expect anybody to speak out except that leader. So immediately we go to small groups, because we know if we want people to speak up, go to small groups. So I think as leaders, what are the processes we put in place? Processes, mechanisms,
Attitudes.
actually, but it's what you put in place to enable, to get people to practice. It's a muscle. Because they will try it, and as you said, Gillian, and they'll wait to see how did Gillian respond when I shared that idea. And if Gillian was, even if it was the worst idea, but if Gillian was like, nice, thank you, okay, we will look at that, okay, it might need some work, we're not going to be fake. It might need some work, but at least you thank the person, then they'll be like, hey. You mean in this company? Okay. You see, so, but it's recognized. Don't expect it. Actively create those mechanisms and processes.
One of the things that I've learned to do to help deal with that is, in a meeting or in a setting where you are asking for ideas or asking for input, the leader should always
speak last. Last.
Be the last one.
Yes.
Because the moment you speak first,
it's over.
That's it. Everybody, whether they agree, if they disagree, they'll keep quiet. If they agree, they'll talk, or they'll say something, but it won't necessarily be what they really
Yes.
wanted to say or what they felt. So
And even as you're
leaders
speaking
speak
last, watch your face. Because
Yes.
they're watching you to see.
Me, I'm so guilty of that one.
They're
Like
watching
that.
to see, are you,
Yeah.
what does Gillian think? Is that a good idea?
Yeah.
Da, da, da. Am I on the right track? We're so desperate the way we relate to authority.
And make sure as well that when you are the same way you react to one person, you react to the
it's
other.
true.
So sometimes there are people we may feel more comfortable
It's
with or
so
something,
true.
and so you're like cheering them on.
It's
Somebody
so
else,
true.
you're blank.
Yeah.
It's
You know, so moderate the emotions as well, or your reactions, your facial expressions, so that it's the same for everyone.
Yes.
It's really, really
Yes.
important.
Yes,
And I would just add about in the process of getting people to speak,
Yes.
one of the things that really gets people talking more is the phrase "tell me more."
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that.
like,
I love that.
it
Very
makes
coaching.
people- exactly.
Robert the coach. Robert the coach. That's
Tell me
coaching
more.
too.
Yes. Tell me more. And then also asking questions.
Yeah.
you know.
Open-ended questions.
Open-ended
right?
questions, yes.
Yeah.
And being attentive, like if somebody is saying something, sometimes like
true.
you said, it may not be the best idea in the room, or maybe as a leader you have set something in your brain
Yes.
that this is what I'm looking for. Sometimes before we even go for these meetings, we know what we're looking for.
Yes.
But if somebody says something and you show them that you are open, like tell me more, or what did you mean by when you're
Nice.
you mentioned this, can you tell us a little bit
Yes.
more about, then they know
Nice.
that you were listening to them,
Nice.
you see them. That is one of the things that I've learned over the
Yeah.
period, especially like you say in coaching.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
yes.
if you see the person realize that
I'm seen.
I'm seen, then they're happy to lean in a little bit further.
Yeah.
Okay, for you to see them more. So I think if in the attitude, like you said, the body
Body language.
how we
Yeah.
say things, the questions we ask, and even after they have said, sometimes we forget that even after they give you the idea,
Yes.
and we leave the room, it's not done.
Say more. Oh, you see?
It's not that.
Yeah.
In the sense that some leaders, when somebody says something as an idea and maybe it wasn't accepted, maybe it didn't appear as if it was accepted.
Yes.
They feel like a little bit rejected.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
But if they see after that you still encourage them,
Oh,
support them,
that's
and
excellent.
then they next time when they come into the room, they know. Or even when I say something,
I
like we
like
said, like
that.
the mistake
Yeah.
one, even when I say something that's not accepted, next time I'll still be listening to.
That's
I think that is
such
very
a
important.
good one.
And
Yeah.
I'll just add one more thing. In when you talk about asking questions and the way you ask,
Yes.
one of the things that I learned ages ago, and it's a great tool for brainstorming, but also very good to kind of draw things from people, is to ask the question. When you talk about open-ended questions, but if you frame the question in such a way where you ask, okay, so tell me, what are all the ways we can solve this problem? So you start with, what are all the ways? It opens it up
Oh, nice.
for people so that it's not, can we do this? Or, which is very yes, no. It's so you really, the way you even frame the question itself when you're trying to get feedback from people. That's one
I
of
like
the
that.
brainstorming techniques, but it's really, really
Yeah.
good for a variety of conversations. Ask the question, whatever problem you're trying to solve,
What are all the ways?
start by saying, what are all the ways we can ... or we need to this.
Also like the last one.
Oh, that's okay. We can continue. Yeah.
The power of the pause also is very important.
Yes,
Like
yes.
after they have said, "Oh, I think we should have more paper in the area where we print document because they keep the papers in the other room," and then you like. Then other people, then they will say, and then they'll add another one, and then they'll add because
don't
they feel like
rush it.
don't
Yeah.
rush it to
Yes.
stop them,
Yeah.
and then they'll
Yes.
see that you are listening. Sometimes because we are in a hurry to also add up or something, we let people. We don't allow people to fill the gap.
Yeah.
We
Nice.
quickly fill the gap, and then we don't allow them to open up their brains to think more.
Nice. Okay. Yay. So lots of ideas. So again, if that's one of your things, people are not speaking up. I think hopefully we've given you some
Yes.
ways to do that. Remember, just don't blame them. Don't expect them just to do it. These are some ways you can encourage them to speak up. Huh? Can I give you mine?
Sure, please.
And I won't say it's mine. I don't think I've been challenged by this, but it's been coming up a lot in coaching in terms of some of the things that are just, this is more of an irritant I will hear people talk about. And it's hesitation to give regular updates. People will frame it as, oh, I don't get feedback. But when it's said that way, you think, oh, they're not getting feedback on your own performance as a leader. But actually what they're meaning is that I have given someone a task to do. So in other words, you're in charge of organizing the staff retreat. Huh? And I'm wondering, how is it going? It's just like radio silence, not a peak. It's like crickets out there until the last minute when finally I'm like, oh, but Robert, what is going on? Then finally I was starting to say, oh, well, actually, Alisa's giving me this headache and this one is giving me that headache and I'm not getting this. Then I'm like, if you had just told me earlier, we could have brainstormed on the challenge. And I know many leaders get challenged with it, but I also know why people do that, because again, it comes back to socialization. Many people have been socialized. First, do not go to mommy and daddy or my teacher with bad news, because you know exactly what you'll be getting. And don't go to disturb them with small things. First, sort it out totally. Then you go to them. So many people are not used to giving updates because of the way it has been responded to. So just with these other ones that we've just talked about, I think one way to deal with that is first implement structured check-ins. So if we're saying, all right, we're organizing a staff retreat, you're in charge of the logistic, agree. Let's touch base every 2 days, or let's touch base each week. So we're on the same page in terms of when is that touching base going to happen. And then you encourage almost like progress-based reporting, where people are regularly saying, this is what's going on. And then you also let them know, almost like, keep coming and giving me feedback. And just as we've discussed, when they come back, with like, I'm facing this difficulty, how you respond. Now, this is not to encourage, because there are some who will, every problem you get, they're like, Oga, deal with it. Oga, it's almost like you keep shoveling trouble upwards. So it's not to say that you want them to keep coming with their problems so that you can solve them, but it's almost like then you can troubleshoot together. In fact, it's almost like then you have an opportunity to coach them on how to deal with the issue. So if they're saying, oh, we had a budget, but we've checked with all the hotels and they're all above the budget, now instead of saying, now we don't know what to do, it's like, well, what do you think are other options? Are there any types of venues rather than hotels? We can. What are your ideas?
Exactly.
So again, encouraging them to think, but still you're constantly working with them to say, because that I can see has just been like no feedback, but it's how you structure it. Yeah.
Just to add to that, it's what I've found as well is there's a reluctance to give updates, because some people see it as, if I don't know, or if I look like I don't know, then people will think that I don't know anything. So they see it more as a sign of weakness to not have everything under control or have every answer. The problem though is that there are some answers that you actually are not supposed to have, in the sense, and let me give you an example. I was talking with someone yesterday, and he runs his company. Now, he had given one of his employees the task of filling out a report. And the report was due today. He gave the employee the report on Monday and said, fill out certain sections. And the employee waited until Thursday, so that was yesterday, to come back and say, well, here, I haven't filled out everything. And so the question was, why did you wait until Thursday? Because there are some questions that I actually have the information for, based on the level and knowledge of the company, that I could have given it to you and we could have finished it. So sometimes, so I think people don't realize that they don't necessarily have to have every single answer either. So if you don't do what you can, do the best you can, and then come and say, all right, these are the things I've been able to do. can you help me, or at least point me in the direction to where I can get the other answers? But do it early. The problem is waiting till the last minute,
yes.
when the time has run out. Then you come finally to say something you could have said days or weeks before. And that is, I think, what the pet peeve is in all of this. It's not that we expect staff to know everything or to be able to do everything. But don't wait till the last minute and then come and say you couldn't do it for whatever reason.
You know, it's so interesting, and I like that example because it reminds me that for many times, you know the ones who do that. You know what I mean? There are certain ones who do those kinds of things. So for those that do that, those are the ones that you structured the check-in. So the ones where if I've given it on Monday, and I want it on Friday, you can be sure, if I know you are like that, you can be sure that on Wednesday, I will, and it's not to micromanage. I will even say in the beginning, is it okay, let's just touch base, because I know you. Let's just touch base on Wednesday, just to check if you have everything you need, if there's anything I can do, even if it's a quick WhatsApp thing to say, are we on track? There's some that you know, they're just fantastic, you let them go. Gillian is laughing. For those who cannot actually see us, Gillian is laughing because it must be she's had a direct experience.
The thing is that you talk about micromanaging. Like so you see both sides of it, where I have another situation where the guy, the head of the company is doing exactly what you're saying, where he's saying, you know, don't worry, tell me, how often do you want me to touch base?
Yes.
And he touches base exactly when you tell him. But the person sees it as a complete micromanagement. And their perspective is, why can't you have faith? Why can't you just, let me do the things that I need to do and have faith that it will come? And there's a line that, I'm sorry, faith doesn't cross. Because sometimes I think we forget that everybody answers to someone. So you, Taaka, maybe the owner of Busara, you've given Robert a task to do. He has not done it well. When you are checking in on him, he feels like you're micromanaging. Sometimes he forgets that you answer to a board.
So, or a client.
Or something. So somebody else is putting some level of pressure or expectation on you. That comes down. So it's that balance where sometimes I think people forget that it's not because people don't check in because they just want to make your life difficult or they're cranky. Okay, some of them maybe. Generally, it's because there's also expectations on them. So I wish we could find a way as leaders to have that honest conversation with the staff as well, to say, if you feel like I'm putting pressure on you, raise your hand and say it. But no, let's understand each other, because you have responsibilities, I also have responsibilities, and we need to find a way to make it work. So it's just that thing.
That open conversation around saying this. I'm not trying to be all in your face, but this needs to be done because of blah blah blah. Okay. So that was the one I'm hearing, this hesitation in giving regular updates.
As a leader, making decisions and solving problems can sometimes feel overwhelming. Having a thinking partner to help you reflect, gain clarity, and take charge of your situation is essential for personal and professional growth. This is where coaching comes in. At Busara Africa, we offer executive coaching guided by the ethics of the International Coaching Federation. Our internationally certified coaches bring years of experience and mastery of the coaching process, empowering you to take control of your leadership journey. Contact us today at www.busara-africa.com.
Are you doing too much? Feeling overwhelmed, yet still questioning if you're doing enough? Leading from within, the inner work of leadership is here to help. This monthly online program helps leaders like you build self-awareness, master emotional intelligence, and lead with confidence. With expert-led masterclasses, practical tools, and a curated resource library, you'll gain insights to lead with authenticity and impact on your schedule. So take a breath and join me on a powerful journey of inner work required to thrive and find your joy as a leader. Join now on www.busara-africa.com. So we've identified already about 3 of them, isn't it? Huh? I wonder if you're both hearing about something that's been becoming a lot more common in our day and time, where when we look at many of our currencies on this continent, when I look at what has happened to the Ghana cedi, when I look at what happened to the Kenya shilling, where your money could go does not go as far.
Yeah.
Where your salary, what you earned and what you could actually buy and pay for with your salary doesn't go as far. So what I'm hearing many leaders complain about, they're like, particularly because of remote working. We know a lot of the leaders we work with have hybrids, working hybrid. They're saying, my goodness, all our people have side hustles, and it's sending me crazy because they're not delivering on it. So what are you hearing about this thing about side hustles?
It is a major phenomenon, and I think it's something that leaders are really struggling with, and I think it's something that we will need to find a solution to, because it's largely COVID induced. What COVID did, and I remember listening, it could have been one of your earlier podcasts where there were young people talking about, just the ability to work from home and demonstrating to bosses that, hey, I actually can work from home and the work can get done. COVID, I would say, ripped the curtains, the veil off that fallacy that you have to be at work to get work done.
Exactly.
Yes. And so suddenly you now have employees of all ages, all levels, everyone saying, hey, if we were able to work at home then, why can't we still do it now? We got the work done. So allow me to do it now. The problem is that it has now evolved into companies acknowledging that, yes, maybe we need to look at a hybrid work environment. But what we are finding, what I have found and what I'm seeing and hearing from a lot of other leaders is, let's say you tell the employees, okay, work 3 days in the office, 2 days from home. The employees will come to the office. They will work their 3 days. The next 2 days is for them. They forget that they still are employed and expected to work from home. No, they haven't done that. They have now gone and found some other business, some other something, and that's what they're doing for the next 2 days. And that's why leaders are struggling. And it's that tug of war that the leaders are struggling with. And it's unfortunate, because if you take a country like Ghana, you look at inflation. Inflation has come down. We're average now maybe 22%, I think it was for last year. But it hit 50% on paper. In reality, it was over 100%. So, and nobody's job pay went up that much. So people have to survive. Like they literally have, and I don't know how people do it. They say Ghanaians are magicians. And it's true, because it's got to be magic to make the little money that you have stretch. So everybody out of, I would say, just sheer survival
has side gigs.
Looking for side gigs. They have one, maybe even 2. And not only low-level employees, like at all levels. So the question now that leaders are being challenged with is, how do we, do we allow people to do these side things knowing that they're doing it? How do we manage it? How do we put policy around it? That's where the struggle is now. But it's rooted in people struggling to make ends meet. And it is rooted in COVID showing us that we don't all need to physically be in the office to work.
Yes, yes,
It's just some people have taken advantage of it
in
the wrong way. But that's a real thing that is leaders are struggling with right now.
Robert, what have you seen leaders do to manage that?
One of the things I've seen leaders saying is to having a conversation with the team to find out. So, for instance, if the person would want to work part-time, on a particular amount, so for instance, if the person is working, on a project, and we know that, okay, we can have this person either as a consultant or so that we don't throw the person off and say, hey, because you have a side hustle, you're gone.
Yeah.
But how do we combine? How do we create a space? Another one is doing performance, result-based management. So that we base our discussions on results. So if you're supposed to deliver X amount of things within a particular period, are you able to deliver that on time?
Yes.
In the expected quality over the period that we have you. So I think that's conversation. I think, and that is the conversation that needs to start being had among leaders and colleagues in the office. I think that would help people to understand how do we manage this together.
So what I'm hearing from you all is, one is empathy, because Gillian, the way you described it first is empathy. You see, people are literally, and not just in Ghana, I think across the continent, people are turning into magicians because their salaries, how does that work? So it's empathy to see why people are feeling the need to have side hustles. Then the second thing I'm hearing from you though is having some almost parameters around it, to say, look, let's look at a range of options.
Exactly.
Do you really want to be a full-time employee, or is there something else we can do? So not a question of you do it, bye-bye, but is there something else we can do? Can we change the contractual terms? And a key thing that you're saying is it's on results. So rather than saying it's not so much on time, even though it can still be, you deliver results, but when I need to reach you at a particular time, because it's not just about you've delivered this. Many times I might need to have a conversation with you. You are always reachable.
Exactly.
If outside of that you're doing other things, then I may not, as long as it does not interfere with you being reachable, with you delivering on those results, or there is no conflict of interest. Because that's another thing I've seen, where people I've seen people take all the material from their jobs and then go create similar. So you will have a busara here.
A mini busara.
Then Robert goes starts and creates a mini busara.
Mini busara somewhere.
Material that he's gotten from busara. So it's some of those ethical things as well.
Yes. So I would say unique now within the same context, but unique to Ghana and I would say African countries. You have people with the side hustles. You are trying to find a way to work with them. But one of the challenges too is somebody will be working from home, let's say the 2 days. They call you or you're trying to reach them, they tell you they have no power. Now, the problem again that the leadership have is, are you going to tell the person, fine, so now drive to the office or take Trotro or whatever to come to the office, and then now that will take you 2 hours or 3 hours. So it's that thing of you want to also work with people, but there are ways and means
people
are
take advantage.
And ways that you can't always prove or
so trust then becomes very important, because I think the kind of leadership, if you're a leader that has a trusting relationship, if it's always the kind of relationship where those I'm supervising, they're trying to con me one way or the other, then already there's something that's broken in that relationship. But I think the leadership, because it's true, issues of trust. I mean, we have, that's of power. That's a reality. So we have an understanding that if power goes off, then one of the team members goes to the closest place that they can access, where they can get power, and then the company will pay
so
for
that's
that
a really
space.
good policy to I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Tell people about it. Because I think it's
So
it's
if
a
our
good
program
thing
officer,
companies
for
can
instance, when
consider.
power goes off, we know the closest place she will go will be a working, what do you call those,
Workspace.
a workspace,
Yes.
in East
Okay.
Legon.
Yeah.
And so that's going to cost her to be there. So we will pay for that time she's in that space. But at least there's clarity, there's trust where she'll say, power's just gone off, I'm going to give it some time. She'll often say, and both will say, we're going to give it some time to see if it comes back on. If it's not coming back on, then they're open to say, I'm off. I'm on the,
Okay.
so you know they're
So
not
like
reachable.
within an hour.
Within an hour, when I
Yeah.
settle,
The closest.
when I settle, then I will call in, I will check in.
Yeah.
And then, but that's built on trust, it's built on understanding. But it's also built on our appreciation of their context and what they're grappling with. But without that trust, you're right, people will always be doing this and this and this and this. So with the side hustle, I think it's not so much about having a fast rule. I think what I'm learning from this conversation is that if that is just absolutely taking you off and just really, it's saying it's time to have a conversation, depending on the size of your company, depending on the nature of work, just the same way we talk about hybrid work. Hybrid is not for every company and every role in the company. It's really looking at those variables to then have a conversation and say, okay, I'm going to close my eyes on this one, but these are the demands, or it can't work. Forget it. It's not going to work at all. But have that open conversation rather than
And I would
pretending.
say definitely, let me speak to the camera on this one. If you are working from home and you say you're working from home, do not be delivering yam to your boss's house. I literally had that happen one day. Like it was, we're working from home and somebody who was supposed to be at work was delivering yam to my house. I was like, seriously? In the middle of the working day.
Their side gig was
Yes.
selling yams.
That was it. And so
Instead of working,
it's like,
they're going
guys,
around
come on,
delivering.
like let's try and manage it a bit. So please, no deliveries in the middle of the day if you're supposed to be working.
I think one of the things we spoke about earlier that will help in this situation is also, and related to the trust, is creating a safe space, for conversation. I think if we create a safe space so that people could be honest about this is what's happening. I have a side hustle, and this is what's happening. So then you, the leader, can have a opportunity. Okay, then they have a conversation.
Yes.
How can we make it happen?
You're right.
So then they don't feel the need to be hiding things, and stealing things. But once it's open and it's clear, then you know that these things are happening, and you're able to put your finger on it. And I think there's also a responsibility on the side of our colleagues or the people we work with to also help our leaders to feel safe with them. I think we also have to throw a responsibility to our colleagues as well. Yes.
I want to come with a final one.
Yes.
Yeah? Time. Time. Sometimes we talk about it in we're sitting here in Accra, so we call it GMT.
Ghana man time. Ghana man.
Oh, Ghana man time. Yes. And it's really, I think what I'm hearing, I think within our team we don't have such an issue, but I've seen it when I go into different spaces. But it's this different perceptions of time and punctuality. Yeah? And I, with all the cultural sensitivity, I realize we have a very different relationship on the continent to time, And but it's for different things, because there's certain things people will be very much on time for, other things they won't. So I appreciate that. But I hear from many of you leaders, I hear you, and it's sending you absolutely crazy in terms of, and it's not just time in terms of when people show up. To work, but it's also time in terms of meeting deadlines, showing up for meetings. I mean, most of our workplaces are just dominated by meetings. So what is the solution, and what have I seen work? I think it's setting clear expectations with all the cultural sensitivity. I mean, it's really saying, instead of, and again, this is back to a context, the story I was telling before, I think in an earlier episode, where hair salon employees were not coming on time. When I inquired further, we realized people needed to take 2 trotros to get there. So if somebody is taking 2 trotros to get there and you want them to be there at 8, what support are you providing them
exactly.
to actually get there on time, given that reality? Gillian is smiling for those who can't see because clearly she's got something like this. But it's appreciating where people are coming from. That being said, it's not to excuse it, but it's just so you know how we run meetings. There's certain key things that we do when we run meetings. We say if we're starting at 9, we honor those who are there at 9. We don't reward lateness. But at the same time, we're also real. You can see for the workshop things, we will literally build in a buffer so that we know that actually, so that we don't, things don't happen that affect. So we incorporate buffer timing in scheduling because we know it's going to happen. Tech-based reminders. You can see how many times we have workshop. And again, we send people reminders to say we're starting in 10 minutes. It's almost until you develop a culture around that. And then there's accountability with respect to that. So there should be accountability. If you stroll in half an hour late and nobody says anything, you're treated like it's okay, then people will realize it's okay. Because the very same person who strolls in half an hour late in Accra, you watch, they get a job in Berlin. They will be exactly on time.
That is my issue.
Yes, they will be
That's
on time.
why I was smiling.
They'll be on time because there are consequences.
There are consequences. The culture is different.
Yes.
And there are clear consequences. You will have people who need to get to work at 8 o'clock. It's a 2-hour trip. There is snow on the ground. They will get there. They will get there. Yet here, small rain.
But wait a minute, they will get there because there's public transport that works when there's snow.
No, not
here. You have the trotro that
know,
doesn't move.
I remember there was a story about a guy in the US who, I think for like 20-something years, he walked to work every single day, like several miles. Finally, some people came together and bought him a car or something. But the whole point is, because you know there is zero tolerance. Whatever you need to do, you will do. You will not complain. You won't come. You won't cry. You won't do anything. You will show up and you will do it, whether you like it or not. And I wish people could apply that same thing here, because I can only think of how much further Ghana would go if people were willing to do the same thing for their country that they're able to do in another country. Sure.
But that means as leaders then, it's back to accountability.
Yes.
Because what they're doing in Berlin is that they are holding that person. Somebody will talk. Sooner or later they'll be like, 3 things, 3 late times, you're out. You're out of a job.
It is not even, I should also say, it's not only the Western countries that
even companies here.
I look at
Ghana.
Nigerian banks. There was an MD of one of the Nigerian banks here. And what he did was he would stand at the door of the banking hall, and at 8 o'clock he locks the door. So none of the employees who are late can come in. And then he would send them home. And then they would have to, like, I think after 1 or 2 instances, then they're fired. So everybody shows up on time. So accountability, as you said, is the key. Wherever you are, once you have that accountability, it will work. It will work magic. But I would wish that we didn't have to threaten people to get them to be accountable.
And be locking doors on people.
People halfway. If they have a real challenge, you help them with it. But,
I would just add that I think, for me, one thing I've also worked for me is at the beginning of any relationship, it is made clear.
I like that.
I think sometimes it's okay, it's in your contract, starts at 8 o'clock, we end at 5, and everybody knows it's the usual thing, so we give the contract and we leave it. But if anybody wants to build in a real culture, and I think probably also a time, people spending time on onboarding and orientation, the idea of instilling to people that this is what you have agreed to in the contract. That you are arriving at 8 o'clock. We are not now come to discuss. If you know you have any challenge with 8 o'clock, let's discuss it now.
You
get it.
At the beginning.
At the beginning.
Before you're hired.
And then maybe, like as you've mentioned, we agree that if you are late for 3 times,
This
is
is
the
what happens.
sanction.
Then I'm sorry, we can't work together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So because I learned this in a process of where I was working somewhere, and then we went to court because an employee sent us to court, and it was we had to go back to the policy and say, what did you agree?
Stated, yeah.
Exactly. So if you fire somebody, the person says, "Well, I sent an email to this person that I'll be." Say, "Well, what did we agree in the contract?"
Yeah.
So that people are aware. I think a lot of the times people don't really have a discussion on the contract in the arrival time. It's just said, "Okay, we come at 8:00 and we close at 5," and then you have the thing to maneuver in between.
But just before, because I don't want it to come only down to when you come to work. Because what I also hear a lot of leaders struggling with is the timeliness in delivery of key outputs. So it's like, we agreed you deliver it on Tuesday, things happen, that's fine. But you didn't even write to say, guess what, Taaka, I'm struggling with this. And all of a sudden I'm hounding you and I finally don't get it till Friday. But I think your same principle applies. It's saying that back to your example, if I give it to you on Monday and I want it by Friday, I'm letting you know the reason I need it by Friday is not just because I want it and I'm just being a stickler. It's because I'm passing it on to a client who I've committed to share it with, and I need to review it before, so that they also understand the consequences of having it be late. So you're having the consequences.
Taaka, one of my former bosses always used to say about people in Ghana, he says, nobody needs to tell a Ghanaian when to get to the airport. If you are going to Dubai and the flight leaves at 9:00, no, it doesn't matter where you live, you will find a way to get there on time, because they're not waiting on you. So it's that thing where when it comes to time, I think
it's what people are interested in.
Yes. So if you can make it to the airport on time,
or go for a visa appointment.
You're coming from Takrady to catch a flight and you can make it on time. Why can't you make it to work?
So how do we as leaders make the work so engaging that they're so excited? Look at Gillian's face. They're so excited it's like going to Dubai. Or they're so worried about the consequences, it's like missing a visa appointment.
Yes, a visa appointment, because
so there's both a pull and we're talking about the kind of leadership that has a pull. You're excited, okay, we're not going to Dubai, but you're excited. You know, you have a sense of pride. But also we know the power of culture, organizational culture. If you walk in, if a leader's created a space where everybody generally is on time, most people, not all, but most people will feel shame. Or if everybody delivers something on time and generally gets things done in a timely manner, and you are the only laggard, part of you will be like, oh, my goodness, me, I'm the only one here who can't seem to get things. So I think a key tool you also have as a leader, beyond, as we're saying, accountability, coaching people, supporting people, having those conversations, agreements, is about creating a culture, also where you yourself. Thank you very much. You yourself.
That is the way I also, because like we leaders sometimes forget that they are the good example of what. And we always tell people, leaders in these trainings, especially in cultural conversation, that you are the leader of the culture.
Yes.
So if people see that you come here, I remember when I used to work in an organization where I come at a particular time. And so when I'm there, people know that this man, he will be there before, and I don't want him to come before me. Or I don't want, because he's there, he will see that I came late. So I don't want that to happen. So I will be there on time because they know. And for instance, if you're having a meeting, the way you behave towards the meeting. So we say we have a meeting at 5:00. And you are sitting at the desk at 4:45 getting ready. Everybody, this one we have to be there at 4:40 something, then they pick up the culture.
But if you stroll in late to the meeting, how many leaders do that? You yourself call the meeting for 5:00, yet at 5:10, you're rolling in. Everybody will sit at their desk till they see Robert getting up as the leader. Say, now the boss is going, now we can follow. So you really set the tone as
That's a really key point. That's awesome.
Okay. So, folks, I hope we've hit on all your, not all, but we know these are 5 of your big ones. We talked about the whole thing about mistakes. Now, I hope you know what to do to help people to own up better to their mistakes. We've talked about the challenge of speaking up. So hopefully now you know what to do to create that kind of environment where people are more willing to speak up. Updates, pet peeve, let people give you regular progress report, side hustles, and we finally landed on what you can do to create a culture where people are committed to delivering in a timely manner and showing up on time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. That was fantastic. I hope you enjoyed the show. And do leave us a comment and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. All right.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Leadership in Africa Redefined, the podcast. I hope you learned a lot. And if you found value in this conversation, share it with a friend and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you would like further support on your leadership journey, please get in touch. You can find us on busara-africa.com. And don't forget to follow Busara Africa on all social media platforms.